Hey everybody, we're live again. I'm already back downstairs introducing the next guest here. I'm emceeing the conference, tweeting about it. I need to find a good GIF. Let's go with this one. And all right, maybe the smiley guy. And that's not great. I'm going to tweet that. Dan's going to be right back with you. We had a power issue earlier. We figured it out. We plugged the laptop back in. So we're back on again. Let's see, do we get that tweet? No, there's no tweet there. All right, that's interesting. Where'd the tweet go? But we're looking at this account and that account. Let's see. And oh, it's on that account. And we're gonna put it on this account. And there's no one in the chat, so that's good. It's probably not working. Let's see. All right, retweet this. And then click on this link. 7 people watching now. Cool. Hello to the 7 people watching. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share down below. Try to open this up in the YouTube app. And here's Dan. Come this way. There's less cables. Less cables.
Hi there. Yeah, sorry everyone. That was my fault because I saw the battery going down, and then I failed at putting it on. I did try and plug it in at some stage, but anyway, Tom sorted it out. So I'm here. We're at BitBrum, and I'm joined by Brian from Blockchain Isle of Man. Brian Donegan from Blockchain Isle of Man, or well, Digital Isle of Man.
That's it.
So there's two companies.
So yeah, Digital Isle of Man is the umbrella identity.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. So Digital Isle of Man is the umbrella identity. It's a private sector government body. Yep. But within that, we have our new entity, which is Blockchain Isle of Man. Yep. Which is basically a high-speed innovator, but also an opportunity for scale-ups and startups to actually benefit from our support on the Isle of Man around VC and regulatory initiatives that we've just undertaken about 6 months ago.
Oh, cool. So it's like an incubator for blockchain-type startups?
Blockchain scale-ups and startups, but it's a high-speed version.
Interesting. So so quick to market then.
Absolutely. So everybody's in a hurry. Yep. So we completely recognize that.
Yeah.
So rather than just have people sort of wandering about trying to just get their money together, to get their regulation together, all of that stuff in terms of how they're going to develop their tech, we basically assembled all our assets in one go-to place where our applicants can get access to all those goodies.
And is there a website? So so we've got digitalisleofman.im. And is can people get to the blockchain accelerator from there?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
You can also reach me on I'm on LinkedIn, but also brian.donegan@gov.im is my email.
Yep.
So a lot of people reach me through the community that want to apply to the program. It's a very, very simple process. So we have a 2-page online application form that you can just fill in, send it back to me with as much information from their business plan as they would want to share. Yep. Plus any published material, any technical papers that they've published in the last 12 months. Yep. We sit as a panel every month and we assess all of the applicants, and the successful applicants get a welcome letter from our CEO. Yep. And that really kicks off the process, and we bring them in.
So what's the, if you're able to say, what's like the average time from application to receiving the first funding?
That's a really good question. So so the actual funding process within our program is actually handled by a different team within our organization. So it's a different process. So just because you get a successful application into Blockchain Isle of Man doesn't automatically entitle you to the funding. Yeah. You've basically got to sit down with our funding specialists and actually go through that.
Yeah.
So really from our perspective, the real advantage of Blockchain Isle of Man is to be able to develop your tech. Yeah. So we're all about trying to identify really good, strong management teams with good technology projects in the blockchain space, where we can actually help them achieve all of their key deliverables. And so we want to do that quickly. And we recognize that there are key components in that mix, mainly regulation, mainly finance, that have to be addressed. And so we help them do that.
And in terms of the, what was I going to say? Oh, is it modular? Is it not? Can you be modular? So someone might not get the funding, but they'll get the assistance from regulatory, from tech incubator style.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Oh,
absolutely right. Yeah. So in terms of what's in it for us and what's in it for the applicant, obviously it's pretty obvious what's in it for the applicant. The applicant actually gets access to all the goodies early on if the management team is strong enough and if the idea is good enough. And we see that there's an opportunity to actually develop that technology, over time. From our perspective, the real benefit is that we get good quality jobs created in the island, and that trickles down into the broader economy. So all these people buy cars and pizzas and houses and stuff, and so
pay the
taxes and blah 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 blah. So there's a real economic benefit as a result of that.
And so just slight observation. So you said, because your email address is @gov.im.
Yeah.
So are you affiliated with the government?
Yeah. So it is a proper government private sector initiative.
Oh, fantastic.
So Isle of Man, we're 85,000 people, so it's a relatively small community.
Yep.
And so public and private sector is a key sort of part of our success.
My friend.
We're
I did that as well. Box briefly. Oops.
So very, 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 very agile, so we can identify opportunities and really go after that quickly.
Switch up to on. And fantastic. So yeah, that's really cool that it's actually, the government is behind a blockchain initiative.
Absolutely.
You don't have that in the UK. Instead, you have people being scared away by being rejected from banks.
So what we have is we have people actually telling us that the reason that they want to come to the Isle of Man is because of our ecosystem. Yeah. And so because we're agile, because we don't do slow no, we can actually respond quickly to people who want to come and see us. Not everybody is successful. Yeah. There is a criteria, and the criteria really is strong management teams with a track record, with some really good tech that we believe that we can actually see headroom where we can help them develop that tech and hit their commercial objectives quickly. But all of this comes because the Isle of Man got into e-gaming or gambling online back in the early 2000s, had great success with that, and in 2013. A lot of those e-gaming companies were handling crypto. They came to us and said, clearly a lot of the users love the flexibility, no chargebacks, etc. So what can government do for us? So we started to take a look at the whole AML, anti-money laundering, and know your customer rails. Introduced those in 2015. And I think we were one of the first sort of jurisdictions that people realized was actually friendly towards blockchain.
Yeah.
And so we started to get traction in an appropriate way. So that was really good. Obviously, we had a crypto winter in 2015 that extended into 16, but then had the tsunami of ICOs that came our way in 17. Bitcoin did 20x, and then we saw what happened last year. And so that really brought us to a point where we thought, we've got to do something about this. This is an opportunity. The phones are quiet at the moment because the market has declined. So let's just put together and assemble and reconfigure and reconstitute ourselves in a way that is actually friendly towards the community and friendly towards the ecosystem. And for us, that's about the startups and it's about the scale-ups. And we really want to engage with the quality end of that business
and make the use of the technology which is growing so rapidly. And onto that, so we're also joined by is it Tim? Sorry,
Tim Burton.
Tim, my friend, who's also
Jim.
Oh, Jim. Sorry. Sorry about that.
So I'm the technical lead in the team. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And so what drew you to working in blockchain? What was the kind of deciding factor made you think, when did you have your epiphany moment? Bitcoin is best.
So I've worked with colleague Gary Rowe for years. We co-wrote the multi-bit wallet, one of the early Bitcoin wallets. It says multi-bit and multi-bit HD.
Yeah.
That was like from 2011 to 2016.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was our baby for a long time,
Yeah.
So that's all like hardware, Trezor hardware wallet support. So that was in those days, it was like the Bitcoin dream of change the world.
Yeah.
Totally decentralized money, so it's great. Thanks, Satoshi.
Yeah.
So after that, we sold that to SKYPE, that wallet. That's a hardware wallet manufacturer.
Oh.
And then,
cool.
and the result of that experience, we got a year's gig at HSBC in applied innovation. So that's a blockchain future technology team at HSBC. that was interesting. And it's a real eye-opener seeing how the banking system works and how different it is. The risk profiles are totally different to in blockchain. They're like completely chalk and cheese. So then after that, worked in a startup, which went bang, like a lot of startups, you know. And then, so for most of this year, from January 2019, I've been at the blockchain office in the Isle of Man. So we've set it up. We do a variety of things. The main one we do is, I think of it, we're selling the island for blockchain companies to come over. It's not suitable for every company, to be honest. You know, you need to want to be on the island. No one is interested in having like brass plate companies anymore.
Yeah,
you actually have to have some economic activity.
Substance.
There. Yeah, substance is a technical term.
You want to bring people to the island. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's really important. So for the younger generation, it's difficult. I mean, I've got nieces and nephews. It's very difficult to get a good quality job. So that's really what we're interested in. If someone asked us before, like, do we have like revenue targets and stuff like that? Well, no, the target, the metric that we're looking at is jobs on island.
Yeah.
Because so Isle of Man has 84,000 people. So even 100 jobs, 200 jobs, it makes a significant difference. You know?
That's cool. I think that's a great approach. That's a really good metric, actually, isn't it? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think so, you know, because it's all about people at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, in that period since 2013, clearly the whole sort of ecosystem and the community around Bitcoin and blockchain has changed radically. And, we see a lot of narrative now that's saying, well, Bitcoin celebrated its 10th anniversary and, not a great deal has actually changed when we look at this compared to the .com boom. So after 10 years of .com, we saw a lot more sort of significant traction. And so we sort of deny that because as a hypothesis, it doesn't really work, simply because in the Isle of Man, we actually see that, that engagement and that convergence going on between blockchain and e-gaming is very real. So we've licensed quite a few blockchain-enabled businesses, mainly in the lottery space. We were the world's first jurisdiction to license a blockchain-enabled lottery. So to people who say, where is the beef, where is the evidence of blockchain in terms of development and use cases, if you're not seeing it anywhere in the world, you haven't been to the Isle of Man, because we can show you.
And just out of curiosity, what is the blockchain lottery? What's the company called?
Quanta.
Oh, okay. It's not the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So, and have you seen like, have many of your customers had the experience of being rejected in other countries first and saying, look, we couldn't have, they didn't give us a bank account, we couldn't do this, we couldn't do that. Have you had an experience of that? Many?
So most of the people that we engage with.
Oh, it is Jim Burton. Yes, Jeremy.
That's right, yeah.
Multibit.
Tim Burton is the film director, who makes excellent movies.
I keep on saying Tim, sorry.
Edward,
that's all right,
Edward Scissorhands.
I'm so sorry.
The great movies.
Barely said.
Good way, Tim.
Oh, no, he definitely is, yeah. But Jim Burton from Multibit. It is definitely Jim Burton.
Not Tim Burton. But to your point, so the regulatory piece is the real attraction. So a lot of the businesses actually don't run away from regulation; they actually run towards it. Simply because they realize that as an enterprise,
do or die.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really,
and it's a competitive advantage. To be honest,
no one in Bitcoin wants to admit it. But you've got to, because you're going to get shut down. You're going to get deplatformed. The best thing you can do is, I don't mean this term in a violent way, but infiltrate and destroy. Get in there, get cozy with the regulators. Not in a bad way, because you're going to go, no, I don't mean like that. Oh, geez. I don't know what I mean is, at least if you work with regulators, you've got a chance to sway them, to convince them, rather than them regulating the crazy side of it, to see the legitimate business case.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And what we actually hear from the startups and the scale-ups is basically they're saying, we see the value of having the rubber stamping, if you like, that process of being scrutinized and approved as a key part of adding value to our enterprise. Because in 2, 3, 4 years time, we're going to be doing a private sale, we're going to be IPOing, we're going to be having some sort of a sale event with our enterprise, and by being in the Isle of Man actually adds value because we're in a quality jurisdiction that's widely respected and understood. That's where we get some real traction.
I think so. It's interesting. So sometimes we get approached by people who they're working purely in the crypto space, but they know that if they were in the fiat space, it would be tightly regulated. Maybe it's an exchange or trading futures, something like that. And so currently, that legislation, it doesn't really exist anywhere, really. So I can't mention the jurisdiction that this company was already in, but they said they had already gone to the regulators, and the regulators said, well, we don't have any regulation. And they put it down as one of their risk factors in their prospectus, because, well, what do you do in that situation? And you're making the best effort to comply with laws that haven't been written yet.
Yeah.
So that those companies, they know that they have to start a dialogue, and it's a multi-year dialogue. Those regs don't come around overnight.
Message. Oh, okay.
Is that? Go on.
I'll do it sussily. I think someone's trying to contact me.
Yeah, don't worry. So carry on.
So, sorry, what you were saying. So about being a seal of approval, I think it has legitimacy when they are looking for funding.
Yeah, and it decreases their personal risk as well.
Yeah.
So there's some great work you mentioned before about Westminster, about the UK. We've been tracking. There's a pretty effective team. It's the UK Crypto Asset Task Force.
Yep.
So that's Bank of England, Treasury, and FCA. And they've had a couple of documents out this year. One, a policy document on tokens.
Yep.
And it's pretty good. They've got to the point where they've got a token taxonomy. They're saying, like, tokenomics is going to completely change how companies raise money. Yeah. It's going to be taught in MBA. Your average MBA is going to be taught it in 5 years because it's so flexible. And a lot of jurisdictions are struggling with it because of the trying to understand what it means. And is it a share? Is it a bond? It converts. It's a future that converts at this point. You can have things that are infinitely complex. And so sometimes we see stuff and we say, well, look, you're making it a bit too complicated. Like you're being a little bit too clever, natural fact. Where are you going to make your money? You're going to make it here. Then concentrate on that area and simplify things.
Yeah.
So that it's like anything, isn't it? If you have a simple, clear, straightforward business proposition that you can understand, like with an elevator pitch, people will go, yeah, okay, I get that.
Yeah.
I'll put money into that. I understand that. If you have something that's infinitely complicated, then you can't tell the difference between that and something that's snake oil.
Yeah.
So we will often say to people, look, this area is great, but this area, you kind of, what do we use? We guys room for improvement, weak areas. I mean, we're not being critical. I mean, we see these
allowable weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, we see like dozens of these over time. So if there's an area where people they're a bit weak on, we'll tell them that, and often they'll go away, typically they'll find a specialist in that area. Next time we see it, their business proposition is a lot stronger, and good for them.
I think what's interesting about you're saying about that seal of approval is that part of Bitcoin community and crypto community is all about the anarchistic view of no governments and but interestingly, I think, and because I've got a slightly warped opinion because I got a job at Old Mutual after literally seconds after the financial crisis. Good time to buy the share scheme. But I literally was in there building a financial control system. Yeah. So all the controls, processes, etc., and anything that any task that's linked to or control process linked to a financial line item that could lead to a misstatement, etc. So
you're a financial wonk at heart, aren't you?
No, I saw the value in it because I was also with Northern Rock as well. So when the bankroll happened, blah blah blah, all that stuff, all that. So actually, the regulation, interesting now, is it's almost come full circle because of the amount of scams there are. Government regulators kind of approving is actually a really big thing because it's like it's a seal that this isn't a scam because whatever somebody with new government's a scam, blah blah. At the end of the day, it is this kind of now certificate of saying fair trade. This has been assessed. It's not a scam. It's actually legitimate. And I think that's actually beneficial.
I also think that since 2013, that was the sort of the sort of year of entry for us. Banks, not only banks, but I think the wider sort of financial services community have actually had time to consider the technology They understand the technology now. A lot of them have, labs dedicated to it behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I think there's a greater understanding of the network effects of Bitcoin and the wider sort of blockchain opportunity. That wasn't around in 2013 because back in the day, it was very, very negative. It was about Silk Road. It was about Mt. Gox. It was about all that stuff. But now I think people are actually awake to the opportunities around the technology in terms of the applications, the wider applications.
And it has got safer, I think, overall. You've got like multiple hardware wallets. There's an exhibitor here that's got multiple different species of hardware wallets.
Yeah.
You've got people like Coinbase. They've spent a lot of time and effort on making their proposition usable to the masses. I know some people don't like Coinbase because it's centralized, but you can always get your assets off, put it into a hardware wallet.
Coinbase got them. I'm not. Coinbase was easy for me to onboard people in Bitcoin. I can't. Plus, I'm going to be raffing at their Christmas party. So.
Yeah. And so, we all know the technology is complicated, and especially as people start moving into bespoke tokenomics, we call it. You can build anything now, and it's great. It's going to be very useful with renewables. You put assets into building a renewable, you get an income stream for 50 years into the future. That's the net asset, the present value of that is worth money. People are going to do all sorts of things that we're never going to dream of, and you've got to start somewhere. You've got to put down like the guidelines for the simple structures. People are doing very simple things in reality now compared to we'll be laughing in 20 years time at the sort of things we do. But you've got to start somewhere, and you've got to build, and you've got to build on it organically. Otherwise, you just simply are never going to get anywhere.
It's like that great video, the interview of David Bowie in like the early 90s, and he's saying, someone says, I think that the interviewer says, what do you think of the internet? And he's like, it's an alien. Like, he had the foresight to think that this thing that we can just see now is, there's so many branches to it. And Bitcoin's like that. And we're seeing a lot more projects now that, like the one I was working on, the sidechain project, where people are using Bitcoin as a protocol. So they're creating tokens on it, kind of like Liquid, kind of your sidechains. So you're using it as a time stamping. All these different things that you can use Bitcoin for now, and using it as a protocol. And there's just, like you said, there's going to be 20 years time. You're going to be like, oh, remember when we thought Bitcoin was just a store of value? Oh, and I think that's so. Are you able to, without going for any NDA stuff, but what sort of interesting projects are you working on at the moment that you've got under your wing?
Oh, so we have a monthly social on the island. So we have all the companies. They're all company confidential, so we can't talk about those. But we have presented stuff about the market sectors, so we can talk about that, I think, happily. So the big ones are gaming, because the Isle of Man has a connection with that, and payment processing, moving money around, basically. So those are the big two, and then there's a very long tail, and it's all sorts. It's all over the place. It's we mentioned green bonds before.
Pharmacy, big pharma.
You got pharma. You've got something. Mining boxes.
Yeah, it's very diverse. It's very, very diverse.
Cool. That's I like it.
Financial services.
It's worrying when you've got too much in a certain area, I think, because then it can it's too weighted in and too concentrated. So that's really good that there's just so many different services.
So that's by market sector, and then we're specifically technology neutral. So the sorts of things we see lots of ERC20s. People are just accepting Bitcoin. That's actually very straightforward to do. People kind of don't realize that you can take payments and make payments in Bitcoin, and that's perfectly okay.
People actually think that the myths that travel around really cheese me off. Like, people genuinely think that it's illegal to use Bitcoin.
No, not at all.
No. I'm saying I speak to people that do think that. There's some people that still think that it's completely anonymous. And it's no, it's the most publicly. So it's annoying that these sound bites get out, and suddenly, it takes a long time to change those mindsets.
The biggest thing that's happened in the Bitcoin community is the emergence of Libra, because of the amazing amount of publicity that it's actually had in the last 6 to 12 months. what people are now talking about is what is money. And
Yes.
so
Yeah,
and so that debate is kicking off.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it doesn't take very long before you suddenly realize, you know, what the strengths and weaknesses of fiat are versus crypto. And it doesn't take you very long when you talk crypto to get to Bitcoin, and you talk about the fact that Bitcoin is hard money. And so, you know, I think that's been great, because I think suddenly people realize that the underlying technology is now out of the bottle, the genie is out of the bottle, and it can't be uninvented.
Yeah.
That's
can't
great.
be shut down. It's like it's a multi-headed ninja snake, and you can't cut the head off a snake. Or can you cut the head off a snake? You can cut the head off a snake.
Thinking a hydra.
You can't cut,
Something like that.
Something like a hydra, yeah. That you just like, you keep on talking like whack-a-mole, because as long as like the last computer going is still running a node, like and yeah, I think that's just incredible. It's something that it's like an electromagnetic organism that can't be shut down.
So I was chatting to a friend just this week, and I think a good comparison to cryptocurrencies generally is the internal combustion engine. When the ICE was first invented, no one realized what it was going to be used for. Now it's, you know, powering lawnmowers and planes and trains and automobiles and everything. The whole idea that you can transfer value trustlessly anywhere on the planet, and you can engineer it. You can engineer a solution to be exactly what you want. You know, with incentivizations for, oh, okay, we need people to provide these services. Oh, let's invent mining. Or all the other reward systems that are coming. People don't really understand that that's a step change. It's an incredibly useful tool for us to build new systems of organization that are inherently global. I mean, we're the Isle of Man, so that's inherently a geographical region. And regulators tend to think in terms of regions, but the technology is inherently global, and it's inherently real time or near real time. That's great. You know, what can you build with that? Or anything, in actual fact.
Yeah, and I think with the advancement of like Lightning, side chains, we're seeing a lot more kind of focus on Bitcoin again now, because although there is ERC20, you can now produce tokens on Bitcoin.
Yeah,
you're leveraging a different, you know, it's just that people have the choice about what's the word? You know, the risk factors, that their risk appetite. So some people are less worried about the security, so they're happy to have it on ERC20. So some people want this immutability, so they have it on Bitcoin. And I think it's good that people have the choice ultimately.
Well, you've got a whole variety. I mean, this is a Bitcoin specific podcast, isn't it? But you've got now a whole variety of tech stacks, all of which have good points and bad points. And a good engineer will use the right tool for the task in hand, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we should all do, you know.
Yeah. Well, and even if it's like there is still a world leader of tools, like I said earlier, name one company where it's the only company that does something. Like there's competition everywhere. Like even though like Apple have got the best phones, for example, there's still 50 other phone operators. So I do think the idea of the utopian dream of just Bitcoin, you know, it's a bit far-fetched. It'd be lovely and everything. It'd be like if we like switch over to Bitcoin now, all the fiat gone, blah blah blah, and it was painless or whatever. But it's not going to happen. There will be free market, etc. And technology at the end of the day is going to win. If people can use the tool easier than something else, even if it's because Bitcoin hasn't reached the level of customization that they can get with another coin, they'll use the other coin first. And that's just kind of, they're not going to go, hang on a sec, I really love Bitcoin, so I'm not going to code anything until 2 years time when it's cool. I think we got BTC. So if we can wrap up, because we got BTC paid service. So coming on soon. So Brian Donegan and Jim Burton.
That's right.
Yes. And so any key messages? So you're just to reiterate, you're from Blockchain Isle of Man and parent company Digital Isle of Man. What are you looking for?
So we're looking for
community.
Yeah. So the call out I call out to the community is that we're looking for strong management teams with a good track record, with some great innovation and some great ideas, and they want to get access to a jurisdiction that can understand their technology, number one, but number two, has the assets available to help them, support them, and get them to achieve their key commercial objectives in the shortest possible time.
Fantastic.
And for me, it's just keep coding these fantastic projects.
Yeah, I like that.
And
keep open source.
And
and open source ones as well.
And just one final thing.
Yeah.
And that is, I'm a fan. So Bitcoin is hard money.
Bitcoin is definitely it's the hardest money. Definitely. Awesome. Well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye now.
Awesome. Enjoy the rest of the conference.